Hey guys, welcome to the GM's table, and today it's technically a review, but to make everything fair, first and foremost I want to say this is more of a first impressions, because already what I was going to say about this product has changed. And today I'm going to talk about Fantasy Grounds, and I'm going to do some comparison to Roll20. I'm going to weigh in my opinions as they are right now. Now also, full disclosure, Fantasy Grounds was nice enough to hook me and the channel up with an ultimate license we can use to run games, as well as the D&D 5th edition Player's Handbook, the adventure Lost Mines of Phandelver, which is from the starter set for 5th edition, and the Savage Worlds Deluxe core book. They gave all of that for free. I'm not really going to let that weigh my decision because I still want to do a cost analysis as if it wasn't free. Also, full disclosure, I've already dropped $90 of my own cash to get the D&D 5th edition monster manual, to get Xanathar's Guide to Everything, to get Savage Worlds ETU, to get Savage Worlds Deadlands Noir, and to get a map pack. So I had enough to fully look at how I would run games. So, first and foremost, we're going to look at the price, because I think the price is the biggest thing. If you want an ultimate license and you don't want to pay a monthly fee, it is $150. A standard license is $40. What's the difference between the two? If you have a standard license, everyone who's playing on your game also has to have a standard license, with one exception. If you have a standard license, you can do a demo game with a free user. So if you're playing a one-on-one, one-player game, standard license is fine, but that's rare. Honestly, I don't see using the standard license very much, especially if you're a GM. Unless you're totally cool with going, hey, can you guys buy a $40 game? But not just that, because if you're already going to ask them to spend money, if you have 3 or more players, once you include yourself, 4 standard licenses is going to be $160. That ultimate license, which I haven't really brought up, but the ultimate license, the biggest thing, is free users. You can have as many players who are free users as you want. So that ultimate license ends up being cheaper. Now, compare that to Roll20, which I know a lot of people go, oh, but Roll20 is also $10 a month. No. Compare it to the free version of Roll20, because I also fooled around with this program without any of the modules on, because I wanted to give it a fair shake. And I will say, there are some things it does better than Roll20, and some things I think, because Roll20 doesn't have as many bells and whistles, alright, it's not one is always better than the other. It's a give and take. Me, personally, I don't know. I would love someone to gift me this program, but I'd be hard pressed to find $150 in my budget for it, especially when you add in the other books. Now, I know a lot of other people are going, Fantasy Grounds has a monthly option, which they do. And I want to bring that up, because the standard, that's normally $40 to buy, you can also get monthly at, it's either $3 or $4 a month. It's very, very cheap. So if you're just going to try it, that's great. The ultimate is $10 a month. So if you're already comparing it to Roll20 with its ultimate, it's much more comparable, especially if you're going in Roll20, you're used to API and the coding. The work in Fantasy Grounds isn't going to be that much. So I do want to bring that up. But the money you spend there does not go towards a purchase. So eventually you're going to want to buy it, because if you're playing for 15 months as a ultimate user, you've paid the money as if you could have bought it. If you're playing for 10 months as a standard user, you could just bought the standard license. So those are worth bringing up, but it's also a lot easier to ask your players, hey, can you pay $3-4 a month to be on this program because I want to use it. Now, on to the program itself. Roll20, I'm going to say, I think is better for a spur-of-the-moment game. If you're just like, hey, let's just throw up, I'm going to throw some images up, we're good to go, we know the rule set, like, we know how to set up characters and all that. Fantasy Grounds is much more prep dependent. You can do stuff on the fly, and I think once I get more comfortable with it, it will be. It's very, very difficult for me to compare this. Actually, if you notice, I missed last week's review because I was really trying to get this review right. I've been on Roll20 for over 3 years. Me and my group shifted over to Roll20 almost at the very beginning. And I need to remind myself of that because I can do Roll20 like the back of my hand, but I know some people that have problems with it. Now, I wish Fantasy Grounds I could just do /roll in the chat, and there should be a module or something I can install that'll let me do that. Once I get the thing set up how I like, and let it do those things Roll20 does, I actually think I might like Fantasy Grounds more. But until that, there's things like that. I think I'm going to give my person, this is 100% an opinion thing in Fantasy Grounds. I'm going to get to the things I love about Fantasy Grounds for you fans, but I want to get this off my chest. Fantasy Grounds has 2 tools that are just essential, if at the very least, if you're running like 5th edition D&D. And I'm going to get into the systems I've run. There's the combat tracker, which tracks your initiative. It can ding users when it's their turn of initiative. I can see hit points. It pulls in my tokens, all this great stuff. It helps keep initiative organized. There's then also the party sheet, which has multiple tabs. And like the main tab, I see all the players in the party, and I see their core stats, I see their AC, I see their passive perception, little bars, so I just get a rough idea of their hit points. And then I can tab into like a tab to give them treasure, a tab to give them XP. That is also really awesome. Personally, I do not know why the combat tracker isn't just a tab on the party sheet. I don't know why. I think if it were integrated into one single box I need open, a lot of the clutter issues, which is a common problem with Fantasy Grounds, would actually be solved. Because I would turn 2 very important, typically quite large windows, especially the party sheet. You want to see everything, or the combat tracker if you want to be able to access all the tokens at once when it's not their turn for attacks and stuff. If that was all just one window that I could like minimize and bring back up in like one click, it would be so much easier. I think my opinion of the program would skyrocket. Now, my experience with the product, I've had it for about a week now. There were some personal issues where I got the wrong key, so things got delayed, which also delayed the review, but only by a day. The guys at Fantasy Grounds were really great about getting back to me when something went wrong. They apologized. It happens. I give out the wrong address when people ask for products constantly, because I'll be like on my phone waiting to respond right away, and my keypad will hit a 2 when I wanted to hit a 1. And I don't catch it. It happens. But my experience with it is I wanted to fool around mainly with 5th edition D&D at first. First of all, because it's a more complex rule set. And second of all, my bi-weekly Friday game is 5th edition. I wanted to convert that one for sure over and do it as quick as possible. I also figured it was a better test. Additionally, I had that Lost Mines of Phandelver. I had an adventure, so I could see how pre-written modules work in the system. I think Fantasy Grounds really shines in pre-written modules, but I think you're still going to want to own the module in physical form. If you're one of those people that believes in the you should read the module front to back, well, in Fantasy Grounds it's really cool. You open up like windows, and if you open up like a map, everywhere where there'd be an encounter is a pin. You can open it, you can view all the text, and you can bring up the encounter. Makes it really easy to run, but to read ahead of time, it's a little cumbersome. I'd rather just have a book where I read from front to back to get the idea first, ahead of time. But it's cool, and it runs. I did run as a test game just the Goblin Cave from Lost Mines of Phandelver. Something that we could do in about a session. Get an idea. And when things started to click, it worked. But players were having some issues. It was still clunky. But this is one of those where I need to remind myself, we're all very, very used to Roll20. So I don't know how much of this is specifically Fantasy Grounds being clunky, or my group needing to adjust. I see where it can start to shine. But I went, and when I finished that, when I first wanted to record this, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't gonna give as big of credit to the program, but luckily I didn't find time to record. I had issues. I wanted to relook over the program. I took the time and start to set up my O5R, my OSR 5th edition game, which was going to be kind of sandboxy. and I made a map, but I focused in on a town. I started to make a town, and I did it myself. I think the big thing is it felt clunky, it felt unnatural to me, but I don't run published adventures typically. And when I do, I tend to heavily modify them, not run this quick test game. And I realized a lot of it felt off because I wasn't playing to my style. So I started to build a game to my style. And it was more prep than I normally do. But I built a town, and then all the key locations in the town I gave pins, and the pins could expand to descriptions of that location and pictures of NPCs, and I started having fun. Granted, I turned around and I lost hours of my life, but that's standard GM stuff. But I did this, and then I could link quests, and then I could have hidden pins that only I could see. That would be all the encounters, and I could do in my writing style that I typically do in OneNote. I'm going to get to that in a second, where it's just kind of like a column of first, second, third, fourth. It's not these big, it's not a whole column per thing. It's little descriptors that I can then modify and go on the fly. And then next to the descriptor, I have the encounter as a tag, so I could just go boop. Oh, I have it. I haven't gotten to run this yet, but even after setting it up, I realized, okay, this is how I'm going to use Fantasy Grounds, because I'm a very different kind of GM than the typical I go buy a module or book and just run it as is. So I can already see how it's going to start to shine. I've also looked at Savage Worlds but haven't gotten to play it, but I can already tell Savage Worlds does seem to flow pretty well here. At first, I was kind of miffed because I screwed with NPCs and monsters and stuff, and tell me how many wounds, but went auto put it on the characters. And I realized, oh, rather than worrying about coding wounds and then soak and then possibly removing wounds, you just do that. If you soak, and then since wounds are 1 to 3 anyways, you just type them in yourself. That's not worth automating. So Savage Worlds, I can actually see myself running even more in this program. So I'm excited for that. I want to try Fate, because at this point, I want to, and this is kind of rambly, but this is a big program, guys. So at this point, I want to get into what you get without the modules. If you just get Fantasy Grounds, you don't get Savage Worlds. It's a bit of a shame, I'm not going to lie, but it's $10 for the core rules, and then you have Savage Worlds. What you do get, you get D&D 3.5, all the SRD material, which is a ton of stuff. You get Pathfinder, all the SRD material, which is a ton of stuff. Both kind of standard in a lot of systems, but it's worth it there. A lot of people enjoy it. What I didn't expect, you get D&D 4th edition in it. That's cool. You get D&D 5th edition. You don't get everything, but you get all the basic rules, which are the free PDFs, if you want to just run with the basic, but you can also get all the SRD stuff, which is a lot of D&D 5th edition, especially for free. You get Fate. You get Numenera. Just free versions of it. I haven't looked deeply into those, so I don't know how limited they are without buying books, but you get access to those rule sets right off the bat. I think that's really, really cool. I'm not going to lie. I'm very interested in that. I'm going to quickly check my notes if my computer would stop lagging. And I want to double check if there's any other systems. So bear with me for a sec. No, 3.5, 4E, 5E. Oh, Core RPG. That's the one I wasn't thinking of, because it's not actually a game. It's a generic system so you can build your own games. I know there's modules you can download and install to run Fantasy Flight Star Wars for free. I haven't looked into it, but I'm pretty sure it tags to this page on the book for copyright reasons. But the fact that you can run it in that is actually very big, because to run Fantasy Flight Star Wars on Roll20, you kind of have to have a subscription level anyways to run the API to do the dice, unless you want to roll normal dice and look at that table constantly, which is a pain. So the fact that you can get that module means a lot. The community is great. That said, I do want to back up. I think for a $150 program, a lot of people have said, oh, but you can just look it up on the community and they'll have a fix for it. And if I paid $150, I don't want to have to fix it, in my opinion. I'm not going to lie about that. But the core thing is very good. I do have some other complaints when it comes to 5th edition. Things like, this is supposed to be very automated, and a lot of it is, but then it's also not in weird spots, specifically things like the fighter, anything in 5th edition that has a fighting style, because the fighting styles aren't automatic. You then have to go and figure out how to do it, and a lot of them you're going to have to look up. It took me a while to figure out, okay, I got to click exactly here to open up my AC to modify my AC, or the bigger one, I had to look up the code that you add as a weapon property to heavy weapons if you have the heavy weapon fighting style, because they get to reroll 1s and 2s. Those kind of things, especially that weapon one, I feel like if I'm having to add code tags, that should have been already handled. Now the program's constantly being updated, constantly being refined, so maybe at some point, even by the time you're watching this, if you're not watching this brand new, or heck, this doesn't come out for a few days, maybe it'll be there. I don't know, but it is there, and I wanted to bring it up. So with that, with my rambling back and forth, like I said, I count this more as a first impressions. I may actually come back and talk about Fantasy Ground either 6 months or a year. I want to give it a long time, because this is I've been told it has a heavy learning curve, and it does. Way more than I expected, but even in the week I've had it, last couple days, it finally started to click, and I started to figure out how to make it work for me. It is worth checking out. If you're unsure about it, I suggest get the standard license monthly. Drop $3, $4. Just drop that. Accept it as a loss if you hate it. Download it. See what they have to offer. If you like it, go and you think you're going to actually use this for more than a couple months. If you do a lot of online gaming, just save your pennies and get the ultimate license, because it's honestly the best deal. If you're already looking at, well, I'll get my players to pony up for it, Christmas time comes around, take gift cards. Tell all your players, if you're going to give me anything, give me like a $10, not even gift card. Just give me $10, okay? Because I want to convert it, or put $10 in my PayPal, because you can use PayPal to pay for stuff on their site. So it can stack up together, and you can pull your money and just get the ultimate license, because it's worth it, and it's awesome. Anyways, I wanted to go even deeper, but this has rambled on way long enough. I will catch you guys next time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff if you're on YouTube. If you're listening to us on iTunes or Stitcher, comment, share, do all that stuff. I think you rate. I'm not really used to the podcast side of things, but I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.